Okay, call the meeting order at 3:31. Roll call, please, Susie.
Sure, Leroy Vogt.
Here.
Kyle Jago.
Here.
Dale Schmidt.
Here.
Jessica Atkinson. Annette Obinger. Here. Tracy Flukie. Here. Linda Monson.
Here. Thank you. And if we could all stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Action on the agenda. If I could have motion to accept the agenda, if anyone wants anything moved. Mario is going to be here for Natalie. Natalie unfortunately had some sickness with her family. So Mario's going to fill in for her. And I would ask him to move up his comments that are normally at the end under well as part of his presentation. So he can head out after. But any other changes or any other thing you want to see? And I'd ask for a motion to approve the agenda, please.
I can make a motion.
I'll second it.
Second by Dale. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, action on minutes. How about taking the April 11th minutes first? These were in our last meeting and we had a few changes. So Susie went and made some changes on them. And are they in red in the agenda? So the changes are in red. Does anybody have any other changes to make to the minutes?
Yeah. In the second page, under 8 action items, I just wondered on the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh line. So it's under A, seventh line. It says lanes will be determined in the design process. Maybe you want to put, is it bike lanes? Instead of lanes. The bike and ped committee, I'm assuming it's bike lanes. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good call. You see where that is, Susie?
Is it 8-8?
Yes.
Okay.
That's like,
Wow, seventh line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Right.
Yeah, like, yes. Other lanes, so.
Okay, thank you.
And then there's just one under D, which probably was correct, and then the computer did something, it's, D, 1, 2, other pathways, 1, 2, 3, fourth line, opportunity has a 1 instead of L.
oh, yeah.
It probably was not your error, it probably did that
Thank you for
after,
that.
it probably did that after, changes, so.
Thank you, Annette. Anybody else have any changes or corrections for the April minutes?
I've never looked that close, so I give you a lot of credit.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Can tell where you came from.
Be the secretaries.
Any other changes? Otherwise, I need a motion to approve April 11th minutes.
I'll approve.
Second, anybody?
I'll second.
Second, Leroy. Approved by Dale, second, Leroy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, I'm gonna go to the May 9th minutes. Any changes on those, anybody?
I'll motion to approve.
Motion by Dale, second, anybody?
I second.
Second by Linda. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, guys. Comments from the public. Any comments from the public? And those online. Must be limited to items. Again, just a second. Must be limited to items not on the agenda. Must state name and address. Limited to 5 minutes. Board's role is to listen and not discuss the item. Personnel issues cannot be discussed nor individual named, and board is not able to take action at this meeting. Any comments from the public? None online. Anybody in here? This will go on. Site plan review.
I have no report.
Nicole, anything on your page?
No.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go on to action items. First, we'll start off with item A, which is a presentation by Wello. It's actually by Mario, who's going to be here. Natalie is homesick with some kids. He has a short presentation he will do. Before you start and maybe you get into your presentation, but is everybody familiar with Wello and understand what it is, or what does it stand for?
So it's not an acronym. It is.
Oh, it's
that's
not,
just the name.
okay.
Yep. Name is Wello. And I do have a slide that actually a little bit about Wello. So I will take it away.
Have a nice article in the paper.
Think about the East River Trail.
Super.
Okay, well, we can talk about that again if you have any questions. So again, my name is Mario Gonzalez. I'm the Communications and Marketing Manager for Wello. And today I'm going to discuss the Yield to Your Neighbor campaign. But first, as Tracy did mention, I can talk a little bit about what Wello is. So our purpose is to co-create the community conditions that are both fair and just to drive high levels of health and well-being for all. So when we look at this mission statement, this really hits home, especially when we talk about trying to create that active and connected community. When you look through that equity lens, being able to bike and walk is huge because not everyone can afford a car or not everyone might choose to use their car. So Wello, again, when we talk about community conditions, it's what are the things that are impacting our health and well-being that are outside of going to the doctors for your annual physical, what's outside of the hospital in terms of surgery. It's everything that impacts our health that's really out of your control. One of those big things is just the built environment, what our community looks like. So it's really easy to tell people, go out, walk, bike, that's how you can take care of your physical health. Well, if you don't feel safe doing either of those, it's hard to then get people out to do that. So a little bit of background, quick look at kind of what our bike and pedestrian crashes look like in the state of Wisconsin. Obviously, one is too many, and clearly we are in the hundreds. So this all comes from the state of Wisconsin predictive analytics map. I'm guessing members here probably have access to that.
Yeah, we're going to have a presentation. That's what Brian was talking about from the Public Safety Department at our last meeting. He's going to do a presentation at our July meeting. So we're not, we have not been yet. Yes, but we will be.
So essentially, very high level summary of it. It's, you can look at the entire state and pinpoint every accident that's happened in the state, location, tickets that have been issued. It is just pretty much a library of, unfortunately, crashes that are happening in the state. So with the Yield to Your Neighbor, the way it really came about was every 2 years, Wello does a health and well-being survey, and that's open to all Brown County residents 18 years and older. In both 2019 and 2021, one of the final questions is what one thing would improve well-being in your community? So this is an open-ended question. One of the most popular responses we get is really around how do we make it safer and easier to bike and walk? And we saw that both in the 2019 and the 2021 survey. So after the 2019 survey, once we received that information, Tracy is a member of a group that Wello convenes, which is called the Greater Green Bay Active Communities Alliance. So that group came together, Kyle as well. Yes, sorry. So when that group, when we met, we brought that information forward and said, well, you know, what is something that we can do to address this? The number one idea that came out was, well, we just need people to slow down. We just need them to yield. So we got a small group together and ultimately came up with the Yield to Your Neighbor. And I'm gonna actually a little bit, Yield to Your Neighbor. Then we needed to go a step further and said, well, okay, it's one thing to tell people to do something. So now why do we want them to take that action? And that's when the tagline comes in of it's safer, it's courteous, it's the law. So hopefully one of those reasons resonates with our residents at the very least, or hopefully all three do. But again, if just one of those reasons is enough to get people to yield to your neighbor, just think about how much safer and easier it would be to get about our community by just taking that simple action of yielding. So with the Yield to Your Neighbor campaign, one of the things we do is we talk to residents. So we share their stories of why they yield to your neighbors. Do we have audio? If I play a video?
Yep.
Okay. So now to play it.
I might have to do it on.
Okay.
Is it disclaiming?
Yep. Okay.
Hi, my name is Kelly McBride Moore with Bellin Health, and I'm also a Wello leadership team member. I yield to my neighbor because I lost someone very dear to me when someone else did not. My cousin Jana was just 18 years old when she was hit by a driver who ran a red light and killed instantly walking home from school after play practice. She looked both ways, did everything she was supposed to, but there was another vehicle blocking her view, so she was unable to see the oncoming car. This was something that was devastating for me personally. We were very close, and devastating for my family as well. And I never want another family to have to go through something like that. So I think of Jana whenever I yield to a pedestrian. I think of her when I give a wide berth to a cyclist with whom I'm sharing the road. And I hope anybody that's watching this will think of her as well and take that message to heart. I yield to my neighbor for Jana because it's safe, it's courteous, and it's the law.
Thank you. So Kelly is a board member at Wello, and we thanked her for sharing that very personal story, but again, really hitting home about the importance of, again, taking a simple action of yielding when we're driving. It's just a matter of raising awareness that there are other people traveling outside of a car, outside of a vehicle, and making sure that it is just as safe for them to get about as it is for the person in the vehicle. So really the objectives with the Yield to Your Neighbor campaign, first and foremost, how do we increase bicycle and pedestrian safety? In doing so, we would ultimately improve the overall health and well-being of our community as well, because again, we're making it easier to be active. Another huge component of this is really that connection piece, is how can people be active in the community and really connect to the places that are here in Brown County. And if we can get people walking, biking, you're doing that you're moving at a much slower rate than a car. So you're much more likely to see maybe that small business that you would just drive past. Maybe that park that you didn't know was there, but a bike trail or a road took you that way. I kind of hit on this earlier, but really that piece about improving equity. So really biking and walking, if people do not have access to a vehicle, if we can make it easier and safer for people to bike and walk, that ensures that people can, get to their grocery store, get to their job. And finally, it's really about shifting attitudes. I think we like to say that, the really predominant attitude here is that car is king. Well, we need to understand that it's not just cars on the road, that we do have people walking, people biking, people in wheelchairs. And it's really, how do we shift from just that me in the vehicle to just how do we all play our roles to make it safer for everyone to get about the community, again, regardless of what your mode of transportation may be. So two of the really key components of how we initiate the Yield to Your Neighbor campaign. I'll touch on the second one first because I'll go a little bit more in depth on the first. But the second one, again, was that comprehensive marketing campaign. So it's T-shirts, it's telling the stories from not just our board member, but from law enforcement, from just we have Dawn with the Bayshore Bike Club who's sharing her story. So again, it's really just hearing directly from people who live here why they're yielding to their neighbors and really hoping that that hits home with others to do the same. The second is our Frogger initiative. So those are crosswalk education and enforcement events. For short, we call them Frogger. So Frogger is a partnership with local law enforcement. So Ashwaubenon Public Safety is one of our great partners. We also have the Brown County Sheriff's Office, the Pier Police, Green Bay Police, and then for the first time this year, Pulaski Police joined on. So we were excited to really grow our partners for that. The way the Frogger operation works is we have an officer set up at a crosswalk intersection. We have one officer who starts to walk. If a vehicle fails to yield, which is the state law, there's an officer waiting on hand to pull that person over and issue a warning. So really, the Frogger operation is all about education. It's really, we're not trying to catch people and give an excuse to give tickets. It's really about raising that awareness that this is the state law, you must yield, and issuing that reminder. Now, it is up to the officer's discretion if they would like to issue a citation, because there are a lot of unfortunate circumstances where it's hard for the officer to just say, I'm giving you a warning. So I'll go a little bit more into detail about that. But we have been doing these now for the last 5 years. So really just the ultimate idea is really, again, raising awareness. So what we do is with those 5 municipal departments, it's picking 3 dates throughout the year and all running the Frogger operations on that day. The idea is we attract a lot of media attention, we can market it. So it's really getting the word out there. The issue being that prior, a lot of our municipalities were hosting some sort of a Frogger event, but it would just be sporadically throughout the year. And it would be, Green Bay did theirs on this day 4 years ago, 5 years ago, De Pere is doing them regularly. Well, how do we do them all on the same day? Really bring resources together to really lift that up. And then really get as many eyes on that as possible. So we have a couple familiar faces. So last year, we had 3 Frogger events. So those happened throughout the summer. In total, there was 30 locations that a Frogger event was held. Media impressions, so we got a lot of eyes on, we are pulling people over for yielding to your neighbor. One of the things that we are very intentional about with Frogger is we share the locations and times that they are happening a week before they actually happen, and then we'll share it again the day before. So again, we are not trying to do the gotcha to people. We are telling you, this is where we're gonna be. If you see that and you're like, okay, I'm gonna avoid that intersection because they're pulling people over for failing to yield, even if you are now avoiding that, we have now put the message in your head, oh, yielding to people. If someone gets pulled over, they're upset, they go and they tell 10 family members. That is now 11 people that have been reminded you have to yield to pedestrians. So again, that's why we really do appreciate that that number is that high, is just how do we get more eyes on this message? Media attention obviously helps. And then in total, we had 343 drivers that were issued warnings. You see we have a quote from a member of the Brown County Sheriff's Office. So just talking about how the neighbors were very appreciative of the location coming out. We do get some very, very interesting stories from officers. We'll have everything from, I didn't know that was a law, I thought it was policy. This year we had someone say that he thought he had the law reversed. He thought that pedestrians had to yield to traffic. We had one 2 years ago where the driver, it was a 2-lane street, and driver saw the Frogger walking, sped up and just moved over to the lane next to him, got pulled over, and then told the officer, well, at least I didn't hit him. So the officer gave him a ticket. That was not the response. It wasn't going to give him a trophy for not almost hitting the person that was walking. So this year we've had our first Frogger event that happened early this month in June. Can't believe we're almost already in July. So it's earlier this month. So from the 5 departments that are participating, we were covered in 9 municipalities. That's because Brown County Sheriff's Office covers everything from Denmark, Bellevue, Alloway, Howard, and Swamico. So in total, 14 locations. A lot of the law enforcement will actually do it in multiple locations throughout the day. We had a total of 149 warnings issued. We had 398 vehicles that did properly yield to the pedestrian. And then again, that Google map, which is showing all the locations of times and where they're happening, over 2,000 views on that. So specifically, these were the numbers for Ashwaubenon. So Ashwaubenon had 3 officers and 1 community service officer. They ended up going to the 4 locations that you see. So what was interesting is that Ashwaubenon did not track how many people were yielding. Sorry about that. So I do have to follow up just to see. Again, we want to try to get that number. Ideally, the idea is that drivers typically take offense to just, you're only pulling me over. What about the people that aren't walking at a crosswalk, that are looking down at their phone? So that's why it is really important that we also track how many people are doing this correctly, so that we are rewarding the people that are doing what they're supposed to be doing. What was interesting with Ashwaubenon is we had this interesting nugget of information that there was 2 crosswalk buttons that weren't working, but out of this effort, that was discovered, and then DPW was able to get out there and fix them. So I take that as a huge win. So again, yield to your neighbor. We say it's because it's safer, it's courteous, it's the law. We'll have 2 more Frogger operations happening, one at the end of August, and then one on October 5th, which is International Walk to School Day. The one that we had in June, the hook that we try to push is school's coming to an end, summer's approaching, we're gonna have more people out and about walking and biking. And then end of August, prepping people for beginning of school, get ready for a lot more kids in the school areas. And then again, October 5th, International Walk to School Day. So always trying to put just an extra added element on the days that we're hosting these Frogger events. We do have a webpage dedicated to Yield to Your Neighbor. So if you just go to wello.org, you can see Kelly's story and plenty more. Tracy, your story is on there. We have a story from Peter. And then again, just a lot of members of the community sharing why they yield to your neighbor. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them now. Also, my email address is there and Natalie's as well, in case maybe after you get home or you see something and you have an idea, I'm happy to answer any of those.
I do. So how do you publicize to forewarn people that you're going to be fraudulent.
Yep, so we pushed it through. So this year, the timing didn't work out where we always have a monthly column. So our August Press Gazette column will have both the August
Okay.
date coming and then the October date. We pushed through social media, which we get a lot of traction there. We have a newsletter, and then in the past, we've actually been on TV prior to the event happening.
So
So,
I was curious if you use TV.
yeah, yep.
Because I personally I would feel more impact from those videos than I'm going to feel from, without a doubt. So I
Sure.
don't know if and I don't know if the people would want
Sure.
him be on TV, right?
Right.
But that video from her was very.
It hit
that's
home.
impactful.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's.
Could be your kid.
Right. And that's really the idea of when we talk about neighbor, like neighbor can be anyone. I mean, that can be, like you said, your child, your spouse, you know, an uncle, an aunt, a friend, or literally your neighbor. So yeah, again, we just try to be really as transparent
It'd be
with
nice if
it.
you get the TV stations, so sometimes they'll run like a series,
Sure.
right?
That is, yeah,
And to drive it, because if you only see it once, you might have missed that, but
Yep.
then they have another one and in
Thanks for that idea.
addition to it, I don't know, I'm not sure how you impact people. We all have personalities, but that kind of stuff impacts.
Sure.
It's kind of like killing people with guns, right? That's pretty impactful.
I mean, it's visceral. It hits the heart.
Yeah.
It pulls on the
Yeah,
heartstrings.
could be you.
Yeah.
I know Haley put it up on the social media site.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, Schwab did a great job of even the day of kind of sharing everything that was happening, because that's how I first saw that the crosswalks weren't working, was through the post. I was like, oh, and then it said repaired. So yeah, great job on pushing that out. But again, yeah, it is really just trying to hit as many different avenues as we can, because not everyone's on social media. So that's why, how do we hit the newspapers? How can we get some prior TV attention? We ended up getting two stations that covered day of, but yeah, we could do it even sooner.
But I love the t-shirts because people will ask you, what is that?
And so I don't know how we can do this. If we can get shirt sizes,
Yes.
we can get shirts to
Yeah.
to
Haley was
everyone.
gonna bring some,
Yep.
but she told, just in here, so anybody, give me your size
We can
before you
get-
leave today, and we'll get shirts.
And we can
And
get
whoever
shirts.
wants some, so.
But yeah, so I mean, when I walk my dog and I'm out with my family, I like wearing the shirt. It's just walking advertisement. I unfortunately live in a community that does not have sidewalks, so it means even more to me when I'm walking on the street and wearing the shirt. But and then another thing I would like to point out too is that tracking the numbers, we are hoping to see a decrease in the number of warnings, ultimately hoping that this is working. So we know specifically in Denmark, given how small Denmark is, there's not a ton of places that we can actually run the proper operation. So it ends up being the same location multiple times so typically it's 2 out of 3 times will be the same location. The Brown County deputy did tell me, he's like, I am seeing a difference there in the attitudes and like the mind shift. He's like, our numbers are drastically down, and it's clearly because people they see it and they already know whether it was getting pulled over or someone telling them that this was happening. But he's like, you could definitely see that this was hitting home. And you compare that to Pulaski, who this was their first year. Pulaski had 27 warnings, and I believe only 29 people that yielded correctly. So you could see first year effort there. A lot of drivers probably not aware of what was happening. Yield to your neighbor, it is very interesting. So again, typically we do have media attention. The frog who's walking has a yellow vest on. We have cones set up that give the vehicle, they're set to a distance depending on what the speed limit is on the street, to give more than enough time for the vehicle to stop. So if a vehicle has passed the cone, the officer will not cross. Again, it's just, we're not trying to do hey, look, we jumped in at the last second. But despite the cones, TV cameras, De Pere has a sign that says crosswalk enforcement ahead. That's literally 20 feet, 30 feet before you hit the crosswalk, and it's still not enough. So I think that just goes to education, not paying attention behind the wheel. I know last year there was literally, he was on, so I don't have enough from Wisconsin. What do you get before you get your license here?
Probation.
Yeah. So he was on, so he was on that, drove past and thought it was smart to pull out his phone and record as he was driving. So that was an easy citation. Again, up to the officer's discretion. This year in Bellevue, the person who was walking, actually there was just 2 community members who happened to be crossing at the same time. Vehicle came, did not yield to them, so it ended up being 3 people caught in the middle of the road, So again, in that case, the officer was like, there literally was 3 people you failed to yield to, so citation. But we just hope that if we can, continue to deliver the messages, like you said, if it's personal ones, however it may be, to really drive home this message and make it safer and easier for everyone.
I bet a high percentage don't know the law.
That's what I'm.
They just don't know the law.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. You
Sure.
you get your license, you go back, take a test again? No, you never.
Yeah.
do. So it's not the only law we don't remember.
Yeah.
You mentioned signs in De Pere. I noticed you go down Monroe or Riverside or wherever it is into De Pere. They have those big high vis signs by the crosswalks.
Crosswalks. Yeah.
Do you know if that the city of De Pere feel that's having an effect, or?
I mean, I could ask. I could definitely ask.
I guess it's working for them.
Yeah, I could. That's something that we could
You
definitely.
can find that out, because maybe that's something
Yeah,
we should be doing too, if it's working there.
it's working. Yeah, I know. Well, Casey, you might know the numbers. I know Peter shared them, but with the rapid flashing lights,
Yeah, right here.
90%.
Yeah, so the RRFBs are the lights that you see like near Titletown crossing on Ridge, where they flash when you push a button. It reduces crashes by 47% and increases motorist yielding by 98%. So it makes a big difference to that. And the other thing that the federal government's doing right now, they're doing a crosswalk study to see, how you see crosswalks, some just have the single white lines go across, some have the hash marks, some have, more of a diagonal type one. And the study that they had done that they haven't quite finalized yet showed that the ladder type style, where they're crossed like this and then also have the diagonal ones or the vertical ones on it, are the most safe. And if you can put them in anywhere, that's what you should do, because they're the most visible. The single line ones just don't cut it. They don't see it and they just don't cut it.
And then we have plenty that are just unmarked. So.
Right. Yeah.
And that's
Right.
so that's a great point. So if that's has the one with the most visibility is the most effective.
Yeah.
And with the RRFBs, I know a lot of times, cost tends to be an issue. So what was excited is in Green Bay for their safe walk and bike plan, they actually just applied for some Arpa funds that the city council with Green Bay did pass. They're going to bring in 66 of those lighting systems throughout the city. So, I mean, again, I think education is still an important component, but it is nice to know that we do have these tools to really help enforce. And I believe it's at the system on, is there one on Riverside? Or I'm not sure if it's Riverside at that point or.
There's on,
because I know it changes
It's on
names.
Broadway.
Is that Broadway at that point?
Going
Yeah.
into De Pere.
I think,
There's like 3 right
right there.
now. They added 2 more.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had a softball tournament down there.
Oh.
Closed it right away because they had like an event going on too, so they were all almost flashing.
So I think when the first one was installed, Brown County did sit there just to kind of see what it looked like. And they literally just had one vehicle, and then they gave them a ticket. They're like, you can clearly see something is happening. So.
Yeah, and the ones at Titletown, I've sat up there and watched them at events and they really work. People stop, they see them, and that's a multi-lane road up there. I mean, there's 3 lanes going northbound and there's 2 coming southbound. So they do see it and they do stop.
And
so they are effective.
And to add to that too, I think one of the things
They did one there, didn't they?
Yeah, we did.
Yep.
Yep. 2 years ago, I believe we were there. And then another thing, as I mentioned, this is, yes, the heavy emphasis is on drivers yielding, but it is also making sure that when we have these crosswalk systems that unfortunately officers are having to tell people, push the button,
Right.
push the button. So when we try to push out this message, it's everyone playing their part. So if you're on a bike, like Peter's always told me, if you wouldn't do it in a car, don't do it on your bike. When you're walking, make it known that you are going to cross, look both ways, don't look down at your phone. So again, it's really everyone doing what they're supposed to be doing to really achieve this goal.
We talked about this and I know it's private, but do you do anything with parking lots? Because that's.
We don't.
And I think.
Now that you say that though, I mean,
For the future,
yeah.
because people don't stop for pedestrians in parking lots. It's just crosswalk, again, those crosswalks aren't crosswalks at all.
Sure.
So that's just something to consider.
That is a good point.
Yeah, I wonder if we'd approach the park, if they would allow that to be,
Well,
to be held there, just to create the awareness, like you
Have an
said.
event there, or
Yeah.
ask them to paint their parking lot when we have.
Yeah.
Sure.
crosswalk Signs, it doesn't hurt.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
We could have some to put them buttons up for the
Yeah,
lights.
the button happens too.
Yeah.
Well,
No, when you're in a parking lot,
Yeah.
I'm not as concerned about a crosswalk as I am walking when they're driving down,
Well, I think
down the aisle.
it almost seems like you get into a parking lot, people just
Thirty
ignore
miles
an
hour.
everything. It's like, yeah, I'm not on a road anymore.
That's a great point. People forget they're not on the road, they're in the parking lot, flying down. But anyways.
Any other questions anybody have? I know with the De Beers system they're putting, or excuse me, the Green Bay system that they're putting in, like, Mario mentioned, they're putting in like 60 some RRTs, and they're doing them mainly in school zone areas. And the school district there is actually getting involved in that as well, and it helps fund some part of that. So it's a collaborative effort they're trying to do in Green Bay. And the thing that's cool about them doing it is our community is adjacent, so it adds a little credibility to what we're doing too. Maybe that, hey, Green Bay's doing that, we should be doing that kind of thing too.
Well, and vice versa.
Right,
We
goes
can
both
say,
ways. That we're doing
Ashwaubenon is
that.
already
Yeah.
doing this, why isn't Green Bay doing this? So.
Is there funding for that?
Well, Green Bay's took theirs through ARPA funds, so.
And then the
I
school
haven't-
will take a referendum this
Yeah,
fall.
the school's looking at referendum, adding some into the referendum that they're funding in the fall. So that's how they're funding theirs.
I still think too, there needs to be enough education about, I think Annette brought it up, about people walking the wrong way, like if you're a
Sure.
pedestrian.
Yep.
When you're not walking
supposed to walk
against traffic,
again.
yes.
And I noticed that in my own neighborhood, all of a sudden I saw two neighbors walking with traffic and we have no sidewalks.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah.
And I'm like, oh, we gotta get the word out
Yeah.
somehow.
And it's hard to say something to them.
I know,
Sometimes
I
they
didn't
get-
know quite like,
They get kind of.
oh, I'm on the bike and ped committee now.
Well, like with me, it's my wife, it's my two daughters and my
Yeah.
two dogs. I think I'm the last person to go, hey, you're doing it wrong. Even
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
know.
We've talked about that for years.
okay.
Years, I mean, literally.
Right.
Well, and I think kind of going forward, I mean, yield to your neighbor is something that we want to constantly continue, but I think as time goes on, it can always evolve. And I think we can become very intentional with, maybe next year it is literally, you bike with traffic, walk against traffic. And maybe that's, the big message that we push out next year. Because you're right, I mean, that, again, it's educating people and.
Even the schools, kids might
Yes.
call their parents out if they're not doing it right.
Yeah. Well, having Haley on board now with social media things, there's a lot of really good stuff out there already that she could share through the Ashwaubenon social media site, so we can pass some of that on to her. Yep. For the shirts, do you guys have extra shirts that if anybody has a spouse or somebody that walks a lot?
I
you
believe
would
so.
want?
Yeah. We're limited on a few sizes, but I think just put down whoever would like one, if
Right.
spouse is included.
So
And
pass around again if you want to get one for your wife or significant other,
They
partner.
seem to be normal
Please add them on.
sizes.
they do. And it's
Yeah.
actually it's a very comfortable material.
It
So the
is
reason
nice.
we picked these is if anyone rode in the daycare century ride, this is the shirt that they use, and a ton of people were like, it's super comfortable, we love it. So we're like,
Yeah, all day shirts is here.
yeah, so we're like, well, we
And
want.
Leroy's got a good shirt. The Titletown shirt doesn't come. Yeah, we've seen that today. Again.
So any other questions for Mario on anything? And we appreciate your presentation.
Appreciate what you
Yeah,
guys
we
are
do.
doing.
Yeah.
I mean, you're getting some traction, it seems like, just from the articles I read. That's critical.
And so actually I have one more thing, and then we can, and if there's anything about East River Trail, we can then talk about that at the very end too. So this one, now obviously in the middle of summer, it's hard to start thinking about winter, but winter mission is an idea of how do we connect to people and places more during the winter time. I think it's very easy, especially in Wisconsin, to just, lock up and hibernate until spring comes. But unfortunately, we have very, very long winters. So how do we make the most of them? So winter mission is really looking at multi-level, but at the top is how, from a municipality standpoint, can we change some systems, some policies that will actually influence and make it easier for people to go out and be active during the winter time. So I know Ashwaubenon recently passed will this be the first winter that the trails are plowed?
Yes.
So things like that is a perfect action when we talk about what can a municipality do to increase people being active during the winter. Can you click on the winter mission link? All right, thank you.
Once I got to go out and go back.
Okay, and this was the last slide, so
Okay, no
if
problem.
you need to close the PowerPoint.
I just have to make sure it's all recorded.
Oh, sure. So winter mission, and you can just, Will this scroll down if I?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'll just try to.
All right. So you can-
Let me know.
You can
Just scroll
go.
down.
So this picture was from the most recent Frenzy on the Fox. So that is the event that happens every January. It was off for a couple of years because of COVID, but it is back, and that is an annual run or bike 5K or 10K that happens on the Fox River Trail from Green Bay through De Pere, or right up to De Pere. And it just, again, celebrates the Fox River Trail being plowed during the winter time. So this is from this year's event. But again, so winter mission, when we talk about, again, conditions, well, how do we improve well-being and access and livability during the coldest months of the year? Again, it's very easy to just come, December, sometimes November, just kind of say, all right, well, we'll see outdoors come May, June, although what was it 2 years ago when we had the snowstorm in May? So again, winter mission is really, how do we make community conditions that are inviting, that promote being active and connecting during the winter time? So we actually have a short survey and a short video, if you can actually play that.
Whether or not you were a fan of the cold, Green Bay is called the frozen tundra for a reason.
We have long winters in Northeast Wisconsin. Do you know that our winters in Wisconsin last an average of 5 months?
But that shouldn't mean that we have to stay in our homes until we have warmer days.
We should still be able to connect and be active with our family and friends, even if there's snow on the ground.
It's easy to say just go out and be active during the winter time. But do we all have what it takes to be active in our community and connect with our friends and family when it's cold outside?
Does our community allow that to happen?
What if we all made it our mission to be active during the winter? Winter mission is about brainstorming with the community to all stay active and connected during the colder months.
Is hearing from you what keeps you from getting outdoors in the winter? What makes visiting family and friends harder? What makes it more fun?
Are your sidewalks and roads clear? Are your transportation routes safe, whether you're driving or using public transportation? Do you have warm coats, hats, and boots to help make outdoor activities warm and toasty? Is our community offering affordable winter ways to get active?
Winter Mission is your chance to shape our community response to your winter needs.
So join us and take our Winter Mission survey today and tell us your experience in Brown County in the wintertime.
So, and if you scroll up a little bit, we can, oh, I'm sorry, I'll scroll down, I'm sorry. So we do have a link there if you'd like. It's a very short 10-question survey, just really asking you about what your experience is like in Brown County during the winter time. So what do you like? What would you like to see more of? What do you personally do during the winter time? So again, as I mentioned, there's 3 different levels to winter mission. So the big ones are really the policy systems and then the infrastructure. So again, what do our plowing schedules look like? Do we know that are sidewalk policies being enforced? Do we know that, I know in Ashwaubenon, they currently do.
So the sidewalks themselves, yeah.
So for instance, are we clearing those in a way that we know this sidewalk has the most foot traffic? So are we ensuring that that's the first one that's plowed? Same thing that goes for trails. If we know that one trail has more action than the other, are we ensuring that our schedule is hitting that one first? Infrastructure. So again, just how is the community built? Do we have things that are encouraging us to be active? Has the community been designed in a way that still does promote being active during the winter time? And then the second component is our projects. So it's broken into 3 areas: warmth, light, movement. So things like, can parks have heating stations? Not even just at the park. If there's, we know that this street has a ton of foot traffic, can we put something there that encourages people, even more people, to be there, or that when they are there, they can warm up? Light is a huge one. Obviously, it gets dark lighter, and a lot of times we'll hear for, specifically trails, they might not be well lit. So how can we address places that are dark, brighten them up, and again, really encourage people being out there? And then last piece is, again, movement, just that physical activity. So again, if our trails are being plowed here in Ashwaubenon during the winter, that's, for one, that is an awesome thing to do, and 2, how do we encourage people to get out then and actually use them? So again, winter mission, it's summertime, hard to think about winter, but if you do have the time, just visiting Wello, checking out this page, taking that short survey, any feedback we can get would be super helpful, because that can really help determine what these projects may look like, or how we can work with municipalities to address some of those systems or policies that may be in place that could potentially take a second look and see how we can improve on those. So that is winter mission. Any questions on that?
Are you wellow.org?
Yes, wellow.org.
I mean, winter mission is kind of a great thing with us to starting to clear the trails and getting the word out that way, encouraging people to get out there and use the trails that are plowed, because then hopefully it will lead to more trails being cleared during the winter months if we're getting a lot of use, so.
And then with winter mission, then that's a time for us to then promote Ashwaubenon for these
Yeah.
things and really,
Yeah.
again, put the spotlight on what you're doing
Yeah.
for your residents, which again is a huge added
Yeah.
benefit and really makes it a more attractive place to want to be.
Do you get pretty much free access to say like the TV stations and the paper? Or is it-
So yes and no, in the sense that, so for instance, with the Green Bay Press Gazette, we have a monthly column that runs the second Sunday of every month. So we are guaranteed to know that, okay, whatever we'd like to talk about, we can get that in. TV stations, that's where it's the kind of the ball's in their
Depends
court.
what else
So,
they have
yep,
to-
can push things out and,
So-
yeah.
So will this, the winter,
So, yep,
will
so the
that be going
idea-
on in the paper?
Yeah, so the idea for this is to have kind of like a formal press conference launch in early November. So have probably representatives from whichever municipalities are ready to take part. We are looking to get some gear, so we have winter hats. We can also,
Oh, yeah.
we can do the hats as well with the shirts.
Okay.
Looking to get more gear that actually is winter mission branded. But yeah, we would look to do a formal public splash and yeah, get the word out there on this. Kind of like with the East River Trail.
I'm hoping you get some input from people.
Yeah, so far we're up to 60 responses. So, and I mean, again, I think, and that is super helpful, again, given that we're currently in summer and I don't think people want to think about winter right now, which I don't blame them at all. But again, yeah, I think just the more feedback we can get, the more strategic we can be on what we do. And then lastly, yeah, East River Trail. There's an event happening tomorrow with Brown County Executive to promote 2 funding requests that are being pushed for water quality, with one of those being, so the East River Trail ARPA funds were approved by the Land and Water Committee. Now the Brown County Board needs to finalize that. So tomorrow, I think it's gonna be about kind of putting a little bit of pressure on the county board to say, hey, let's get the green light. And that project is really aiming to restore water quality, make it really that water trail. So how can we get more people out there kayaking? And then if we can clean up the river, then that promotes the possibility of new businesses coming there to rent things like used kayaks.
Yep.
Build new launches that are handicap accessible. And again, just being mindful of how can we ensure that everyone has a chance to be active and connect.
If they're out there tomorrow, they'll wish it was winter.
Yeah. It's be 90
It's
degrees.
tomorrow 90.
Yeah.
So I
Anything
know
else,
I threw a lot at you, so thank you for your time.
Any other questions of Mario? Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you all.
Yep.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Hey, everyone.
Thanks, Mario.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, 8B is pedestrian and bicycle improvement project updates in TID 3 and TID 5. And Joel, maybe you can give us an update there.
I put a few projects in the packet for the committee to see and discuss. The first one is probably the one that's going to generate the most amount of discussion and interest. And that is within what's called Texas Criminal Plan System 3. Think about it, it's kind of part of the Titletown district. That particular TID is set to close in 2029. The final year of expenditure, so under tax law, tax and criminal financing law, you have the final year of expenditure predates the actual close. And the reason for that is the state wants to guarantee that there's going to be sufficient increment in the final few years of the TID to support the full expenditures that were incurred as part of that. So the final year of expenditure for TID 3 is 2023, so next year. And we have the ability to complete those projects until 2029 when the actual closes. So 2 of those projects of particular interest to this committee would be the reconstruction of the Lombardi access road. So I think we've talked about that a little bit, and Lombardi was going to get reconstructed, not actually Lombardi Avenue, but that access road that fronts Pick and Save, fronts Chuck E. Cheese, Margaritas, that strip plaza, that access road from Argonne over to Marley would get reconstructed. The plan right now, although not designed, but the conceptual plan is to shift that road to the north as much as we can. We have to do some utility relocates, get permission from the county for sure, potentially the state, depending on where that jurisdiction boundary is. Shift the road to the north, and that would allow us to construct a multi-use trail on the south side of the street. So the front base of the trail would front the businesses that line the access road. And then that trail at Argonne would connect to the trail that eventually works its way to the west past Interstate 41. So if that project is to be completed, the plan would be we would need to essentially bond for that work in 2023. So the village would take on the TID, if you will, would take on some additional borrowings to support that project next year. And then the actual design work would happen thereafter. And then essentially when you bond for a project, you have more or less 3 years to complete it before you start to get into some trouble with bonding and interest and things of that nature. So we would have adequate time with the bonding to be able to complete the work prior to the closure of the TID, but we would need to bond for it next year in order to meet that expenditure restraint. Yeah.
Just on that, and sort of following up on Winter Mission, we're currently plowing the Argonne Trail, and I assume it's Cabela's plows that sidewalk that goes on the north side of their property. When we plan this, can we plan to plow that?
Certainly. I think part of the request for plowing, we had picked a certain number of trails that we were going to do this year, Argonne being one of them, because there's a section of Argonne that is only done during Packer season.
Right.
So we would pick that up for the full season. The plan would be to continue that to the end of the trail at Titletown. So
okay. Because it's, there's some of the sidewalks there are pathways are plowed and we're getting into Titletown. So I think that would be important to consider. So we should be looking at that now rather than after the fact.
Yep.
And that's kind of always, my understanding is when the village plans some of those projects, they assume they're not going to have to plow it, they're not going to have that expenditure. And I would like to see that planning built in now rather than as an after.
I think that was a lot of the philosophy behind these trails early on, is that they were going in. Packerland is one of them, where we were told when we started talking and discussing winter maintenance activities on Packerland. Well, hey, when that trail was put in, that was the conversation, that we were never to maintain it in the winter. And that was the justification why some approved it and so on and so forth. But I think you're right. I think if the understanding is when this trail goes in, it's going to be part of that winter maintenance activity for all of Argonne, or that Argonne Trail, if you will. I think it makes sense. Certainly there's enough density and activity going on throughout the Titletown district and the shopping area where it makes sense to maintain that. It would be silly that the Packers in Titletown district would maintain their entire accessible walkways. We would maintain the portion by Argonne, but not that section. That would make.
Especially when you figure there are residents living in the Titletown district, that would be a nice walk time to Chuck E. Cheese or Cabela's or Pick and Save.
Yeah, the other thing that I'll mention here, and I'll kind of zoom in, it'll be a little bit hard to see on the screen, but just the one item that did get approved, the last site plan, was the visitor center. That's generated a lot of media attention and buzz. That visitor center is planning to break ground here at this location, right south of that US Bank building.
Yeah.
And that'll be in August, September. So even outside of this traditional spring, summer, fall months, we're likely to see activity from the visitor center through the Titletown district to Lambeau. And so it just makes sense to be able to make that an all-season walk.
Thank you.
So that is currently the plan. So again, we look to try to plan to budget that next year. However, construction probably wouldn't happen because we would still need to do design work and permitting that is necessary next year, and so probably at 2024, at the latest 2025 construction schedule.
I have a question on the whole idea of the access road on the north side of all those, or would that be, north side of all those properties?
Yep.
Do we really need a road there? Every one of those properties can be accessed by vehicle, motor vehicle from the south. So could we just totally take out that access road and just have it a bike and pedestrian area and not rebuild that whole road?
I think from an access standpoint, you probably could do it with the exception of, you have this property here by the Shell station. Part of that. That's Margaritas there. That's the Margaritas point.
Yeah.
They do not have access off of any other road, so now that I'm looking at it, probably not just for that purpose. Granted, now they own both parcels, so they could combine the parcels to get access off of Marley. Theoretically, you could do it. I think, to be perfectly honest with you, I think it would be very difficult for the businesses to accept that.
Not only
Could create a lot of
But
issues.
residents, I visit, you live in that area, and a couple blocks away, if you live in that area, I turn and I use, I hate going to the shop in the grocery store the back way. I don't like going into those businesses the back way. I like using the front. The front way, to me, it's safer. They have a stop sign there. I just,
That would put a lot of traffic pressure on Brookwood too.
yeah, I would fight it.
Right.
I would fight it. And if I were a resident, I'd fight it.
You could do it, but
Who do you ask?
trying to be as politically correct.
When I go to Margaritas, we go there quite a bit, and what they do is they drive in there, if somebody's not able to do a lot of walking, they'll drive in that front, they drop them off, and then they go to the parking lot on the side. Instead of, we go from the back side.
There's a
Many
lot,
times I see people come in
There's a-
that way and drop them off.
there's a lot of traffic that goes on there that they come in right by Pick and Save there, off of
You
Lombardi.
betcha. Yeah, I've seen that a lot.
See, there's a,
Oh, yeah,
there's an entrance right there.
Yep.
And that's used a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you're coming from the west, if you had to turn on Marley, you can't you'd have to go all the way around the back of Pick and Save. So I think that would be difficult.
So a little bit of coordination too has to be done with the county, Lombardi being a county code highway, and just getting access and permission to either construct or to temporarily construct within the right of way would need to happen. So a little bit of planning needs to take place and some design work, but that's still on the radar and on the docket. Coincidentally to that, Brookwood Drive, that same segment from Marley, more or less from the southwestern corner of the Titletown district to Argonne, is also planned to have sidewalk installed. That sidewalk would only be placed on the north side of the road at this point, to my understanding. So it line the back of the business area, would not coincide with the residential properties at this time. There is some utilities on that backside of right of way that will need to get relocated. And similarly, the bonding and the scheduling and all that would be consistent with the Lombardi. So plan for at least a bonding issuance for that work next year, or construction could potentially start as early as next year, but probably 2024, 2025.
So would the businesses be required to maintain that sidewalk?
Correct. Under village policy, those businesses are responsible for that section.
Why is it on the north side? I would think that would be very dangerous and be better on the south side. You're gonna have trucks going in and out of the grocery store, and you're gonna have people walking, people going in and out. And I know we have well-known safety reasons, but I really see a detriment with the trucks and the traffic. And trucks not only for the grocery store, but all the trucks and things from the other businesses. Why would you put it on the north side when the south side is a lot quieter?
And that there are sidewalks on my side of Cormier Road. Every driveway is a conflict point. So people are riding their bikes, they're roller skating, they're walking.
So
They get to every driveway, there's a chance, an opportunity to have an accident. Because if you're backing out, you're looking to see cars, because cars are going 50 miles an hour down. No, I'm exaggerating. Cars are going down Cormier Road pretty fast, so you're looking for cars, especially if the neighbors are parked. You aren't necessarily gonna look for pedestrians. So there are fewer driveways, fewer conflict points on the other side.
I'm just bringing up so people know that aware of it, so
Yeah,
they'll
I
come
think-
back to later.
I think primarily too, you have sidewalk on the north side of Brookwood and Town District, so just from a connected point, instead of crossing at Marley and then crossing again.
What was the reason for the reconstruction of the access road?
On Lombardi access?
Yeah.
Primarily just to fit the trail in it. So to connect the pedestrian pathways in the Titletown district along Lombardi. So shifting that to the north is really the basis. The reconstruction of Lombardi access road is to fit a trail in. Right now, there isn't sufficient room within the south side of the right of way to construct a trail without reconstructing the road and shifting it.
Did we talk about that at all? I mean, was that brought up or?
We did at
Yeah.
the last meeting,
Yeah.
Joel brought it up and we talked about it
Okay,
as well.
I wasn't here.
That'll teach you to miss a meeting.
Well,
Yeah, well.
I got grandkids, I'm busy.
Yeah. And, you know, I know that this committee has probably talked about it before, and I know Tracy's brought it up, and that conversation about conflicts and some of the concerns. You know, we do have quite a bit of traffic coming in and out of egress points along that Lombardi access drive to have a trail. So to have that bicyclist moving at 20, 25 miles an hour on that trail, that's where you start to hit those conflict points. The sidewalk as a pedestrian is typically moving at foot speed.
Yeah.
So 2 to 5 miles per hour. They can usually avoid those conflicts, but if you're moving at a good clip on your bike, that's where you want to try to avoid the driving. So unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, sometimes it's a matter of perspective. There is that 10-foot trail on Lombardi Avenue that connects onto Argonne from Cabela's, and that's what we're trying to connect to those like facilities, similar design.
Something that's similar to that though is if you go down Wabi on a bike, same way, there's all kinds of driveways there. You have to be careful. And there's some places like Eileen's Candies, there's all kinds of trees and stuff. They can't see you. You gotta be smart enough to slow down and watch for them.
I'm gonna come back over here to just address this little chunk here. This is not on the green sheet, but it has been talked about in the past, and it's created some political upheaval, if you will, is Ridge Road. There's currently a sidewalk from Kroll's West here. It runs all the way down to Morris. It extends beyond that. There was a desire at one point by the village to extend sidewalk on the east side of Ridge from, I always forget that name of that road right there. What's this, Valley View?
Yeah, I think it is.
So from Valley View south to Morris. So again, from this intersection, bringing it down, and then it would more or less dead end, if you will, at Morris. People could certainly cross at Morris to get to the west side and follow that sidewalk down to Cormier and get to other points of interest. I think the desire, if my understanding is correct, is to pick up pedestrian traffic, in particular in game day events, because of the volume of people that are parking in the neighborhood. My understanding is that there were some concerns from some of the residents, particularly up here on the north end of that project area, and they kind of killed the project more or less. So it's not currently scheduled, but it is a project on the radar. So if that's something that's desired by the committee, that's something that I think the committee will want to bring forward to the board so that they understand that there's support for the community to do so.
There is a,
North end, that between those,
Between Morris and Valley View.
that's the view, the towards the south end, you have the older homes, towards the north end, where they're redoing all the homes. Those are the people that gave you the kickback.
My understanding is there's the
Really?
owner of the church and there's that one home that's still
Yeah,
remaining there. It was
yeah.
more on this. We have had some preliminary conversations with the Packers about maybe running it through some of these interior streets, but again, I don't think that that's going to satisfy.
Wow, that surprises me that the older home residents aren't complaining before building them. That surprises
I
me.
will say that there is a lot of pedestrian traffic on game day,
Yeah.
because I go down that Ridge Park.
Definitely.
Yep.
I mean, I go down Ridge, because I have a parking pass, so I go into the lot, and there is,
Yeah, that's all you can say.
So I think we would just need, I think the committee would need to lend its strong support for that and support from the community in order for the board to get behind it, because I think they're a little gun shy, if you will. on that
Yeah.
one.
Do you think that one should go on the next agenda to talk about? So Suzie, if you can make note of that, put that on the next agenda and get into more specifics and, show exactly where we're running and stuff. And then we can make a motion in regard to that.
It's near to 3,
Is
but
it
it's
on
not
here?
included.
I was wondering if it's, I thought it was
It's not on our list. I just
No?
figured I was picking it up as I was going along, so I mentioned it for future discussion. The next item on here is Brett Favre Pass and Barkstar Drive. That is scheduled and planned to be completed this year. These are very small projects. I am going to, for entertainment's sake, show you the municipal boundaries here.
Joel, just to go back for 1 second, it is on our project list, 2018.
Yep, it is.
But we still should put it on the next agenda and talk about it. Okay, thank you.
So if you look at here, this yellow line indicates the division between the city of Green Bay, which is to the east in this section, and the village of Ashwaubenon, which extends to the west and to the south. This section of Barkstar Pass right here, on the north side of Barkstar Pass, is planned to be completed this summer for sidewalk. You can see the city of Green Bay has sidewalk on their section. Recently, you saw, hopefully in the news, the city they broke ground on that a large legacy hotel. That's going to be located right here. So again, we're going to provide that connection over to Holmgren for that development that's happening. So that's Barkstar Pass, or excuse me, Brett Favre Pass. Barkstar Drive is this section of the village.
Joel, that'll just be on the north side then of Brett Favre. It will not be on the
Correct.
stadium view side.
Correct. Yeah. There is not sufficient right of way on the south side. And then Barkstar Drive, you can see that there is a small crosswalk at Lake McCarthy. That is marked.
Yep.
So the plan would be to extend sidewalk on the west side of that north to the city of Green Bay limits. Now, Green Bay does not have anything currently installed on their section. However, this is part of their Legends District, this entire area, of which they do plan eventual improvements to that area with sidewalks and other pedestrian coverage. So we're just combining the projects. They're within the same area, economy of scale, trying to play nice with our neighbor to the north and make sure that there's connectivity for our area. Yeah, that project will be completed this year. So 2 small projects. The next one will be the Ashwaubenon Trail and Pedestrian Bridge. Bear with me. So the former Schneider trucking yard is what is now called Alden's Station. So that is currently being developed with Rodeo homes. Right now, the trail along the Fox River on the west side ends at Bay Harbor. We have a gravel path right now that was kind of penciled in, if you will.
I biked it the other day.
Needs a little bit of help, a
Yeah.
little rough.
Yeah.
A little bit of settling and stuff like that. But ultimately, what we look to do is pave and complete this trail section from Bay Harbor through Alden Station. And then eventually there will be a bridge at the confluence of Ashwaubenon Creek and Fox River that will extend to Ashwaubenon Park. That's the bridge. And at some point in the near future, that trail will be extended through Ashwaubenon Park along the river or in close proximity to it, and then eventually connect to the Brown County Fairgrounds, having passed through New Waters Plant over here. I believe the plan would be eventually to connect it to that's the Perkowski boat launch for the city of Depew. Real quickly, just to kind of go back, this trail project along Alden Circle or Alden Station and the bridge, we may end up starting construction of that, at least of the bridge structure, late this year. It's more likely to happen next year. We had submitted to the DNR our permits for our filling and our bridge construction, so we are waiting for the DNR to schedule the 30-day hearing process. I would anticipate hearing from them very soon, within the next week or two. And then once we have our public hearing, then the DNR can process our permit request. And then from there, we can start to go for bids and start construction. But again, the plan would be sometime next year that project will be completed. That project has been bonded for, and the funding grants included have been allocated for that project. And so it's a go. It's just a matter of getting the permits.
Just curious, and it's not, doesn't belong with this maybe, but we had talked in the past about how we could get connected to Green Bay, right? Well, now the shipyard thing is growing. I think we should keep working on that. You know, I don't know how we do it. Doesn't seem like it was going to be very simple, but that connectivity to West De Pere is perfect.
Yes.
So now how do we connect to Green Bay? If it's not that way, how do we get there in another path, some other way?
Yeah. I mean, the good thing, Broadway has bike lanes and a sidewalk on the whole corridor all the way up to the city of Green Bay. So you do have some safe place for someone to bike and walk in that area. But, you know, to continue the trail would be nice as well. And I know the Railroad Museum has not been opposed to it coming through there, but then you have residential.
Yeah,
to
that's
the
what
north.
I'm worried about, is the residential area.
Yeah, years ago, when I was a parks director, there was an older lady that had a property right next to the Railroad Museum. I was working with the engineer, and she was selling her house, and she had a big piece next to it. I'm like, why don't we talk to her and get the cut through? You can put it in right away, then it's there. And then we just never did.
No.
But it would have been a great piece to have, you know, got us through that neighborhood, or at least to that residential neighborhood.
I know that we don't have nothing to do with what I'm gonna mention, but why, I know that the boat launch was shut down when the water, you know, came up really high. Is there a reason why it has not been opened up?
The boat launch at Ashwaubenon?
Yeah.
I guess I would defer that to David. Maybe you have an idea. I don't know.
Rex actually just sent an email to somebody the other day about it. I think there's a lot of concern with the amount of trees and stuff in there and the process that it would take to clean it up and get it back going.
Trees in the launch itself?
In the waterway. Yeah.
I mean, I've had boats my whole life, and I used to launch my boat all the time.
Yeah, he said it's probably been 20 years.
At least,
Yeah.
but before I left my position here as parks director, we had closed up the boat ramp. And a lot of it had to do with the depth of the river. You literally couldn't get out far enough to have water to put your boat in. I mean, granted, we had the big floods, you know, 2 years ago, or whatever it was, but it just has gotten more and more shallow up that river, and that's why we had closed it years ago, and it just hasn't come back enough to be able
I just gotta know where to go.
use it.
I know they're looking at potentially doing some kind of high-end rental thing
Yeah.
there.
No, there's a path. There's a route out.
I know, but I've seen what he's talking about with the trees floating around in there, so.
And then lastly is the Bell and Health Ambulatory and Surgery Campus that's located at the former Menard site. South Oneida, Wabi / Ally, and Parkview. If you've gone past there, they have raised all of the structures and crushed concrete, and they're actually in the process of pouring footings and foundations for their building. So they're well on their way. I do have a message into the building manager, facilities manager for Bell and Health to inquire about that request about maybe swapping out their trail network that they have located interior on the site to a more formal sidewalk structure kind of within the right of way. I have not heard back from them directly. I suspect that we will have a more robust conversation on it very soon, because they did acquire what was the former Howard, I think it was a Howard Johnson site. So Bell now owns that site, and they're planning on putting in a pediatric clinic there. Very sizable facility. And so they're going to be coming back with a site plan, and at that point, I think we can ask that. Again, their site plan was approved for this site, so there's not much we can do to require them to make any change, but it was kind of more of a friendly ask. Could you consider making some improvements to this site that provides greater access around the perimeter of the site in the campus, as opposed to this kind of interior trail? And at the end of the day, it's still going to accomplish, I think, what they intended to by having access for their employees and maybe their patients and some of the visitors to be able to traverse the campus outside around that. So sent an email to them good 2-3 weeks ago. I have not heard back. I do need to follow up with them to see where things are with that particular project. That one's a TID 5 project, but there's not any financial contribution or projects that are being planned for that area within TID at this time. So that kind of rounds out the TID projects that are coming up that I think are of important concern for the committee. Certainly can answer any questions.
Those informative, thanks.
That's off of 172 and Ashwaubenon, so it would be
Oh, there.
this one right here. You can see down there.
Yeah, that's in joint with Freighter.
Anderson.
Anderson.
Yeah. Sorry. Not official. I don't think.
Well, I
Well,
thought
they
the Gunderson-
announced it, so it's
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah, no, the Gunderson thing's separate. That's a merge with the two companies.
Right.
This thing for the, because isn't this a mental health?
It's a pediatric, isn't
I
it?
I think it's with Freighter. I
Isn't
think
it?
it's a
Oh.
joint effort for children.
Oh.
Yeah,
It's a children thing.
Yeah.
I know that.
but yeah, you're right. It doesn't make any difference. The Gunderson thing just came
Back
up.
to all the station site real quick. I just want to ask a question on that, because I just wrote it the other day. So like Joel said, the trail's coming here, it ends there, it'll come all the way around the outside of here, and then it goes up to here, but it also will have that crossing, like Joel said, to Ashwaubenon Park. When you get up to this piece that connects back to Broadway, right now the trail stays along this property line, so this is a private property here, and then it ties into here. There is a curb cut over here, and the trail goes up to a site where there is no curb cut. And what I'm afraid of, if the trail goes straight up that way, anyone that's going to go southbound, especially on their bicycle, they're going to go down the road, they're going to go out this driveway of this person here instead of having a safe access. And then there's a median here. So they won't be able to get out on the road. They would have to go, counterflow potentially on the road. So my suggestion, maybe we could ask engineering to look at it again, because the curb cut is here, the trail comes here. I think everyone's gonna be cutting this way anyway, and especially the bicyclists, because then if they come this way, they could go northbound and get right into the bike lane northbound, or if they're going southbound, they could simply go across and get into the southbound bike lane. So I think we're kind of setting our bicyclists up by not having that access point run into where the curb cut is right now. So I would suggest maybe engineering or, have somebody look at that and see if we could move that so it lines up with the access point, the curb cut. And even someone handicapped getting in there, they come out, they have a sidewalk though, so they would have a sidewalk, but it's kind of uncomfortable for them to go across.
But even entering, to try to
Even
enter and come across the bridge to go to the
Right.
park.
Right, yeah, you'd have to go up and then kind of come back or whatever, so it wouldn't be an easy way to get on that trail. So, just before the development occurs in that corner. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Joanna? Thank you for updating us on all of those. So the only thing that will come back then on the agenda, we will put Ridge Road sidewalk on each side. On the agenda from that. Nothing else really needs to come back to the agenda. Correct? All right, any other questions? Otherwise, we'll go on with C. Is discussion and possible action on placement of bike lanes on Resurface Parkview Road. Parkview Road is going to be repaved it will be from Holmgren to South Ridge this year. And when it's redone, our existing plan does call for what they call wide curb lanes on Parkview. And when you look at Parkview Road and how it's changed since the plan was developed, we now have, and I have to pull up the mapping again.
Oh, yeah.
But and in our plan, it was considered a secondary route for bikes and pedestrians. But I don't know if any of you have gone through Parkview, but on Ashland Avenue, there actually is a pedestrian and bicycle cut through there. And it shows, it allows people to come from Broadway across Ashland Avenue and into the village of Ashwaubenon through a safe crossing. So.
Here's Broadway and you just tell me which.
Okay, you're gonna go south further?
Yep.
South. Keep going a little further south. Then, okay, so right in here, and if you can put the satellite view on maybe?
It's actually Fort Howard Avenue. But turns into-
Which one's that on?
It's right there.
Right there.
This?
No, I don't know where satellite is. Let me see. Should grab Joel before I walked out.
Let's see.
I don't ever use this.
Isn't it on the, kind of on the bottom, the air photos?
Oh, yes, yeah.
2020?
Right in there. Air photos 2020, just hit that one. That should probably do it. There you go. Okay. So if you zoom in here, this is the intersection of Parkview and Ashland Avenue. And you can see there is a crossing through here. It's really hard to see, but you can come this way across and then you tie into here, and same with going across. So there's bicycle and pedestrian access across Parkview now. And it connects you, Parkview goes all the way to Commodity, so it's a really nice access. There's a lot of use that gets on Parkview. They're resurfacing. To go ahead and put bike lanes on there would be, there's so many people using it already, would be a great access. No one parks along that road. And if nothing else, if bike lanes could be put into the newly paved section, so if we put it in from Holmgren all the way to Ridge, at least we get a piece of it in, and then maybe look at putting the rest of it in the future and trying to tie it all together and having bike
You're
lanes.
talking just bike lanes.
Bike
You're not
lanes.
talking sidewalks or anything like that.
Not at this point, no, just bike lanes. Yeah, because it's heavily.
So it's gonna be just marked for bike lanes?
Yes,
Okay.
bike lanes and no parking would be part of it.
I know Rex has I guess a recommendation for this.
Yeah.
This one, and it mostly has to deal with the Sports Advantage business on that road.
Yeah.
That parking lot is always full and there's a lot of overflow.
Yeah, and the tournaments and stuff.
Yep, so they're constantly parking on that road.
Yeah.
So he wanted me to just, I guess, give a recommendation. He wanted to leave it as it is in the current bike and ped plan with the wide outside lanes. He just said, bike lanes are not recommended due to the parking needs of Sports Advantage.
Well, and I get that there is parking there, but the road is wide enough that you can almost keep parking in that area and push the bike lane out too. I mean, there's ways to do it that you could still get the bike lanes in there. And maybe, Haley, if you can pick up pull up the Strava information. So Strava, if any of you are familiar with Strava, anyone that has a GPS watch or GPS that they use when they walk or bike or whatever, you can tie into Strava. And if you can hit explore real quick and then go to create a route. This map will show where people are using the darker the blue line is, the more people that are actually biking or walking in that area. So see if you can get up by Parkview.
Fish Creek.
Not anymore.
I just had to throw it in there.
I'm scared to click because I think it's gonna start.
Oh, it's gonna do,
there we go.
okay.
Okay, where am I going?
Parkview again, let's see where are we at here.
So
Drive south further.
Yeah.
Glory, Maine. So it's probably right here, maybe.
Yeah, pull it up.
Right there, yeah, there you go. There's Parkview. So you can see how dark Parkview line is. So a lot of people are already using Parkview for bicycling, and Glory as well. And you see South Ridge is another big one. And
So it's dark, so they use Parkview to get to Ridge, and then a lot of them leave Parkview on Bridge Road, because
Yep.
it gets lighter on the west side.
Yep, yeah, so they're not going out, maybe page out for a little bit. They're not using us, maybe they're going to Wabi, because Wabi has the trail on it, so they're walking it. You can see Packerland is really blue, a lot of people are walking and biking on Packerland. But Parkview is definitely, with the new crossing of Ashland, it's a lot easier and more people will be more likely to use that than to Glory. And after you can go pop back to the maps or not, the regular map, or did you get rid of that?
No, it's, 1 second.
If you can't, then it's not a big deal.
Should be up
For
here
what it's worth,
somewhere.
Strava doesn't just need to follow roads, it can follow any path you create.
Right, yep.
So for instance, you can create your own maps, like if you have property of your own. My family owns hundreds of acres up in northern Michigan, and we have all sorts of trails around it. We've created Strava maps for my 86-year-old mom, so she can just use her phone and know exactly where she is on the property.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty.
They're
pretty
nice,
cool,
it
pretty
is
accurate,
nice, yeah. It go down a little bit if you would, Haley. So that's a Parkview access or crossing of Ashland. Keep going. The next closest crossing of Ashland is at Glory, Glory. And that's where the big roundabout is. And both crossings are safe for pedestrians and bicyclists, but sometimes bicyclists are very intimidated by a roundabout and they don't necessarily like.
Especially that roundabout.
Yeah, I mean, that one, it's 2 lanes, you know, so it's, you gotta feel comfortable to go out there. So a lot of people, I think, go up to Parkview to cross because easier, and then you're accessing Broadway because there's bike lanes on Broadway. You're also getting into Packerland you can get to, and the, you know, the facility out there. You have West Main, you have Industrial Park Road. So there's a lot of reasons for people to go Parkview, and it's more centrally located in our community. Another good east-west corridor. The only other east-west corridor we have that has bike lanes right now is Cormier, and it's partially bike lanes, but the rest of it is not.
Hanson Road.
Hanson, yes, that's right. Hanson.
It's still on 9th Street, and the bike lane ends 20 feet from the intersection.
Yes.
I take
Still
Hanson.
got the.
I take Hanson. I never go down the drift, and I always take Hanson.
Do you? Yeah, so I take Drift Flat. So
I do too.
Yeah.
it's just another, it's heavily used, you can see through Strava, that there's a lot of people that are using Parkview to get through, and there's a lot of people out of De Pere, I think, that work maybe in the industrial park and bike over to work. I mean, I used to commute that way, and I ran into a lot of bicyclists commuting into Ashwaubenon from De Pere to go to work. So it's a heavily used road. And I know what Rex is saying about the business, but you know what, to totally disregard. And then you got Bellin going in there, guys. Bellin is gonna have a lot of people that are gonna be working at that new site. Some of them, a lot of them will come in from that back side because they're not gonna wanna go on Oneida Street. If you look at Oneida Street on this thing, there is nobody biking on Oneida Street. You know, it's just too hard to get out there. South. Let's see, here's Hanson, Wabi, right here. So this is Oneida, guys. Look at that. There's nobody out there. Maybe people walking along there, but Oneida is just not somewhere where people are going. So it just gives us a good idea how people are moving through our community, and Parkview is definitely one that they're using, and they're using quite a bit to get through. So that's the idea in my head of putting bike lanes on there. They're reconstructing it. Prime time to reconstruct it and put.
So I guess I'm unfamiliar with the business you referenced, or Rex is referencing.
It's a Vive office facility that's located on the corner of Holmgren Way and Parkview.
It used to be owned by, I think it was Don
Mark
Beatty or
Williams.
something like that. Used to own
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It used to be the House of Speed.
Yeah.
There's a gymnastics
So I know
facility
what it
and then there's a Vive office.
So I guess my question was, how often do they have events there? So, but if, it sounds like pretty often.
They have a fair amount of tournaments, I would say, especially, you know, maybe from November till January, February, March,
Yeah.
the prime volleyball season when
Especially
it's not.
weekends.
Yeah, weekends are busy that they have them, but, I mean, they have a parking lot. They could park on, you know, Holmgren, because there would be parking a lot at Holmgren, but,
People, just like all the businesses that would run along that would potentially affect, like, can we go on that other one that had them all there, so you can look at
Yeah, who else is there?
what's all there?
yeah, you know, none of those other businesses have people parking out there.
Yeah, that was all.
That's the
really
only
main
one
concern.
that really does. Everybody else, has, their employees come and go, they all park in the parking lot. They don't have a lot of people coming there per se. Maybe they're more industrial or they're more delivery type businesses. So they're really, there's very rarely you see any cars parked along Parkview except when tournaments are going.
So are you saying no parking no parking with bike stripes?
There's no parking lot when you have bike lanes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's-
Yep.
What?
Isn't that the gymnastics place in Olive that's right back there?
Yeah.
Because there's people on the road there like, at least the 2 nights a week that I go by it, there's cars all along the side of that street. But I'm thinking if you're saying that's the only building that's right there, they must all be there for that.
Yeah.
On Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah, gymnastics is on Holmgren Way, isn't it?
Well, it's that building that butts up to Parkview.
I've been trying to get in and out of that parking lot many times because of my granddaughter playing volleyball and they also play soccer in there too.
I say they play all sorts of sports.
That's the part that, how long are they going to be there? Because it sounds to me like, if I was a parent or an observer, I would get frustrated over time having to park, because they park a long ways away to get into that building. So to me, they're in the wrong place. Now, they're probably doing great because they're
Right.
probably leasing the building or bought the building at a very inexpensive price. But I would think that if they're going to grow, they may not be there. So I'm with you. You can't just say, well, just because they're there, we don't want to consider it.
Right. Yep.
Because they may not be there next year.
Right.
They wouldn't be very happy at all if we took their parking or parked and.
If we made that no parking on that street.
Right. Well, and there's that road is wide enough, you guys, that if we had sections that we said, okay, we want parking in this area, then you pull the bike lane out, leave parking in a certain area.
Oh.
And maybe you do switch side parking or whatever. Once, put on one side in the section, maybe the next block you go on the other side. There's enough room on that
Yes,
road.
there are concepts for segregated bike lanes. You put just bollards or something, but that would make plowing a nightmare.
Yeah.
What's the road that goes in front of Woodworkers Depot? What is that?
That's
That's
Ramada
Allied,
Way.
isn't it?
That's Ramada Way.
That's Ramada Way?
Mhm.
Okay, so why can't we have, just bike lanes from Ramada Way up? And then it's kind of stupid to have a bike lane here, but not up here.
Right.
But, this way there would be parking on Parkview for that
That
facility.
particular area. Yeah.
It's a thought.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't think they park past Ramada Way. They don't park because then you're going underneath Highway 41.
Oh, you're saying leave that section.
For now.
Right.
I get what you're saying. For now, until they leave or.
Well, right, I don't know, it's a thought.
That's an option. Then you're getting at least part of it
Part
in.
of it.
And if it gets busier or whatever, then we'll look at this other section, or if the business changes
Yeah.
or whatever.
Well, maybe that's
We
something
can
we
do.
can put on the next agenda.
I'd like to drive by and look and see
Okay.
Because I can
Just to
see where
get a
that would
concept.
really upset the owner.
what it looks like, how wide that road is.
Yeah, where are they going? Little ones after practice and stuff.
But even if it were a children's business, if I were an owner and I had cars, and it's not that, I know they have bikes, I would still vote against it because it's in the industrial park. And I think that the street is wide enough that the bikes are supposed to be like cars anyway, that we're supposed to respect them and pass them. So
Yeah, what's interesting is, and I don't know the codes, but when you have a facility, aren't you required to have X number of parking places based
Yes.
on the amount of population that goes in the building?
Right.
So
Yeah.
he grew but again,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying we want to ruin his business, but
There's a lot of parking.
There's a lot of parking there.
There's a lot of parking in there. It goes back a long way and that's, but when they got tournaments going there, I'll tell you what, I had a hard time parking into that parking lot.
the boss of it.
Yeah,
I think they're pretty much maxed out on.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because you look
Okay.
at those facilities, they don't build in the center, they're building out where they got a lot of room. But anyways, go ahead. We
Okay, so
spent too much time.
If you guys want to look at it take a look at it again. We'll put Parkview back on the next agenda. Think about it, remember it is a highly used road for bicyclists. It is an escape route. It gets you to the pier, it gets you to all the different facilities. So it is something that bicyclists are using, and Strava shows that people are using it. So, but just look at, we'll put it on the next agenda and talk about it and think about, okay, what, if you think bike lanes are reasonable, maybe it's part of it. Maybe it's like Leroy said, a section of it or whatever, just to try it. But just think about, take a look at it, and then we'll discuss it further next month. Sure.
Just, I'm gonna have to head on out. So is there anything on the agenda that's gonna need a school district perspective as you continue? If there is, I'll make sure to stick around, otherwise I'm.
Do you have anything we should know?
Yeah, anything we should know?
Nothing at this point. School's out, as you know, for the summer. We have summer school started just today. Not that many kids ride bicycles to summer school, but there are a few who do. So that's something to consider. Most of them take busing. But, that started. And insofar as little kids taking bikes, summer school is held in different buildings around the district. So they wouldn't necessarily have summer school in the school that they would attend on a regular basis. So for instance, today we had a couple of hundred little kids in the high school. So we want to make sure that if they do take bikes, and again, I don't think any young kid took a bike to school, to the high school today. Just everyone's awareness that they may be a little unfamiliar with the neighborhood.
Yeah, Dirk, I'd be interested in, I don't know that this is for you and it doesn't have to be today. I'd be interested in the protocol for safety for the schools. And the only reason I ask you that is because I walk by Pioneer every day. And there's sometimes I walk by and I see both gym doors completely open with a fan blowing onto the floor. And my question is, if we're calling safety and we're locking doors and we built this little extension, I'm not sure, right? I'm just asking because I don't know. They built another piece under the building so they had one way in, right? And I know they go in the back door, but there's somebody standing there when they do that. And then I see that there may be a way that they lock those gym doors on the inside when they're working on that facility. I don't know. But it surprises me that if we're protecting with lockdown, once the kids are in, we have those doors completely wide open where somebody could run into the building. And I'm just asking because I don't know protocol. It seemed strange to me because it was right after what all went on, right? And I'm walking by there, I'm like, well, that's kind of scary.
So I'm trying to fit that into the purview of a bike and pedestrian, just to make sure.
But it's not. That's why I said maybe this isn't the place.
Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly why I asked that. Maybe there's another, it's not for you to answer or to, I'm trying to figure out where.
We'll talk about it. I just want to make sure that we're off, that I have the right hat on.
Yep, no. And you don't need to talk about it here. I'd be more interested in is if I wanted to learn that, where would I learn it?
Sure. On a building by building basis, obviously, with different kids in different buildings, I don't know how many doors are right there or who's standing right there. And obviously we might routinely have doors open if someone is right there, if we have a need to, if kids are coming or going, or if there are air reasons or things like that. So I guess I can't respond for Pioneer. I can respond for the high school.
Yep.
So his best bet would be to talk to the principal. I think
Yeah.
that's kind of.
Yeah.
Individual question, yeah.
He's a good guy. I'm not, no.
Anything else that might need me? Otherwise, I apologize.
Nope, go ahead, thank you.
Good.
Right, thank you.
See you next time.
Okay, so put Parkview on the next agenda and take a look at it and get your thoughts together on what your thoughts are, where you're at, and all that good stuff. So talk about it a bit now. Then 8D, discussion of possible action. Oh, sorry.
One other thing.
Yes.
Talked about Parkview. They're gonna rebuild Parkview. Are they gonna, with the railroad tracks there, are they gonna fix? I mean, they're fixed, but everything's gonna be, whatever they're gonna do, are they gonna widen Parkview or just redo
No,
it?
they're just resurfacing.
Okay.
So
Then
it
it's
won't
all
be
right.
widen or anything, they're just resurface project. So it'll be in better
But they
shape
are
than it is now. Yeah, the railroad tracks are fixed. So, yeah. Okay, so 8D, discussion of possible action on potential bike lanes on South Point Road. Haley, do you know where South Point is? It's way off of 172.
See it far end of Cormier.
Yeah.
By the airport.
It's the west end of Cormier.
That doesn't mean anything to me. I
Labor's
drive
bus
here and
line.
I drive home, all right?
Lehman's bus line.
Nope.
She has to take a school bus.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's see, here's up north, right? Yeah. it's- Here, this must be 172 going out, so blow up in this area a little bit maybe. Oh, here's the airport.
You know, there's
South Point.
North
Right here?
Point running right up there. Here's North Point. North Point, North Point, North
Okay.
Point. So
And there's
then,
Packerland, okay.
This is
so
Cormier right here.
Right here,
yeah,
here is, right here.
That's South Point.
Okay, so, yep, you got her. So right here is where the new Quick Trip is going. Going on the corner, so
So why, that's where I got confused. It says the corner of Packerland and South Point Road.
say Packerland, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, how does that work? But, okay, that's all right.
Okay, so
I get it
I'm
now.
sorry, it's 172 in South Point,
Yep.
so Quick Trip's going right here.
Yep.
And if you go up north a little bit, Haley, please. Right to this point, there is bike lanes on both sides of the road coming from Green Bay. They
Yep.
stop at Cormier.
Got it. Yeah.
So suggestion with Quick Trip going in on the south end to make access easier for all these residents here, all these residents on Cormier and coming in, to be able to get down here is to put bike lanes on South Point where I continue them. It's 4/10 of a mile that would be put in from Cormier down to 172.
There's very little need for anybody to park on that street.
Nope.
Because the
There's not much there. There's access to the casino. There's the weather station or the weather property.
Yeah.
And then there's Lamers.
they have plenty of parking.
And there's, yeah, there's
The road's
really,
pretty wide, isn't
the
it?
road's really wide.
Yeah.
I think on Green Bay, they might have the parking on the inside and then the bike lanes
Yeah.
out. So you could, if there was a, reason to do that, again, you could maybe keep the parking on one side or both sides and put the bike lane out further, but it just will make access to that for bicyclists that much easier, more inviting, so people may feel more comfortable going down there. There's a lot of people that live within a half a mile of that Quick Trip that could come to it easily by bike or by foot if they chose to.
And there might be kids doing that.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's a very good idea. Just for connectivity and consistency within municipalities.
And there's stoplights right there too, isn't there?
Where?
On
Where do you
172.
cross?
On
Yeah.
172.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
stop and go light there.
Yeah.
I know because I ride that road.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe once in a while too.
I ride it too.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the reason with that new development going in and having connectivity coming from the north and having all those residents in that big quadrant that could more easily get there, feel more comfortable getting there if the bike lanes are there to get to Quick Trip.
Rex had a couple of thoughts on that one too.
Okay.
He was just, I guess, concerned about, people being encouraged to bike on 172 or specifically Green Bay residents just to bike to Quick Trip. He thought it just seemed like more of a thing for Green Bay residents versus, I guess, Ashwaubenon residents.
We have the whole Cormier Road or the whole area by North Road and all those
Tracy,
people that way.
I bike down there. And I don't really recall cars being parked there as being an issue.
No,
It's a real wide street.
it is.
So I don't,
It's more consistency of facilities.
yeah,
You got a bike lane that just ends. Right, and no one cares what municipality they're in, whether they're biking in Green Bay or they're biking in Ashwaubenon, they don't care. They have no idea. So then you're cruising along in the bike lane and all of a sudden it just ends. It's like, okay. And granted, the road is wide, I get that.
Yeah.
But there's no reason that a bike lane can't. It's an encouragement thing. It's an education thing. It helps people where to ride. They may feel more comfortable. It's just it's a line, but I can't remember what the percentage of safety is added by putting a bike lane, but it adds to the safety of the bicyclists by simply having a bike lane out there as well. So, I thought that's a heavily traveled road because it probably is not real heavily traveled, but it's more the consistency of the facilities and
Would it go all the way down
welcoming.
to 172 or are you thinking like a mid-block crossing?
It would go for, I would go
I'd
for
go to
172.
People ride 172. He does.
I'd
I
ride it
do
all the
know
time.
that. There's a huge shoulder on
I've been
172.
on it a lot, but I used to.
Yeah. So people do ride it and then, getting off, they would have they have a bike lane that would, if someone's coming from Green Bay on that bike lane, they're not going south after, they're not gonna jump on 172 and backtrack and go up. They're gonna turn around and go back, especially kids and stuff aren't gonna venture out there. But
And on the other side of Cormier, that still is Ashwaubenon. Oh, no, that's only to Packland. So it's gonna be, but I was with this, I would think, because there aren't any, businesses for parking, it would be important. And I think that people are gonna bike there even from Ashwaubenon
Right.
because the quick trip is there. Right now, there aren't that many people biking because what are they gonna bike to? Gamble. That's
right,
it.
yeah.
Now they have a purpose,
Reason
so
to go
I
there.
think the consistency would be good there.
If I'm biking out in that area towards 54 in that area, then I come back on, what is that? Kyle rides that too, but I mean, I would come back on South Point. I would not go down to Packland.
Right,
I
yeah.
would come back on, I
South
would take the
Point.
residential area back to South Point, and I would take South Point back,
Yeah. Well, and South
or
Point
even back
has,
to North Road. I mean,
Yeah.
one or the other.
right, because South Point has bike lanes on the whole thing now. And Packerland does not, especially on a busy day. Packerland is not fun to
And
ride.
I mean, and Kyle knows more about that area because that's his area, where I'm more on the other side of,
Yeah.
But it's a wide road.
It's a nice road, right?
It's
Yeah,
nice
it
to
is.
ride. I agree.
Very
Got a
safe
couple
for-
bike hills in it.
Safe for the kids to go to Quick Trip and try to get across from Babcock to go. to
Right.
the
Exactly,
show.
yes, yep,
Yeah.
yeah.
You
It
would
would be
think-
to
you
come
would
through
think
that way,
so, but-
yeah.
So I would think we'd be talking about minimal expense, just, we're just talking about putting some paint, stripe of paint down and some
Yeah. 'Cause you don't-
logos.
yeah, you
We
don't
have to
require
change the
signs
ordinance to
anymore.
require remove parking
Right.
there.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't be difficult because I don't know there would be much objection to that.
Right.
There's not homes there,
Or if you said that they already had it wide for parking up further.
Yeah,
If that's a
to maybe
concern, and it's
leave
already
some-
wide, just leave it in case like they're gonna,
Line it up.
if they're gonna argue future business or something like that, if the road's wide enough, just accommodate the parking and the bike lane right off the bat, so then you don't have to worry about it, and then that way everyone gets what they want right away.
or we put a share on.
Yeah.
Vehicles.
So, yeah, so that's really it on that one, just really getting the quick
We
trip.
have to have a motion for that.
Yes, if someone would make a motion,
We amend the bike and ped plan to include bike lanes on South Point Road from
What side?
Cormier to
Both sides.
172.
Both sides.
this is both sides.
I second that.
So the motion, just to repeat, the motion was to amend the bicycle and pedestrian plan to include bike lanes on South Point Road from Cormier Road to 172. And it's moved for Kyle and second by Leroy. Any other questions or discussion on that? Just
Do we have to put something in there that willing to accommodate parking if that's there?
No, because bike lanes can't have parking.
They can,
Because
if you keep them out front. If the ones up in Green Bay, they actually have the parking
Oh,
lane
okay.
to the right of the bike lanes. The bike lanes are all together.
I say we don't address that, and if the village board feels they need to address it, they'll address it.
So we'll leave it this way, and it could be maybe the design will allow, or if there's, like you said, if there's issues that in the future that we could look at that time, or the village could. And
Yeah, the
see.
village board has that option to decide that they want to allow parking, and it can be amended later.
Okay, Susie, did you get that?
I did, thank you for repeating.
You're welcome. Okay, any other questions or discussions on that? Okay, then I would, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. All right. Okay, review and possible action on the 2018 plan project. I just asked Susie to give you another copy of this just to look at. We did, just so you know, board van, at our last meeting, we made a recommendation to village board that they put sidewalks on both sides of board van. That was approved at village board. So that is included on our list now. And I think the meeting, some of the other ones that came in the April meeting will have to go to village board yet that weren't, probably didn't go through that process yet that we directed on the April meeting. So some of the ones that we talked about earlier today would be a meeting agenda. But this is kind of what's out there right now. Take it and look at it. If there's anything that we didn't see on it, I believe they got all the ones that we had near the new Bellin facility. I think those were all added on here before. But I just wanted to make sure we are keeping up to date because we have a lot of things come out of here recently that we've added. And just want to make sure that we got it. So please look at that and then we will
Just so we don't forget about Hampton.
Right. Yeah. Hanson Road sidewalk on the south side, yes.
I mean, I know it's.
Leroy.
What?
It's gonna be named
Yeah.
Leroy.
Yeah, right. I mean,
Leroy
mean,
sidewalk.
you ever ride that road?
I did, I used to live off of Hampton.
Well, yeah, I know you did. That's right. You live not too far from me. I mean, it's,
It needs that,
yeah, it needs it. I mean, people are walking on that street all the time. They walk on the sidewalk above the bridge, on the bridge, and then they're walking out on the street.
Yeah.
And it is, and I know it's not the best from, and in fact, we talked about that. About going from Ridge Road all the way out to Carroll.
Yeah,
Remember?
we did extend it to,
Yeah.
remember we extended it to that other multifamily just because first it went to the Viking Drive and we went out to, I can't remember the name of the next road, but we went out that
Well,
far.
it's Carroll Lane.
I don't know, it wasn't quite that far. It was to,
Is it Ravens Crest or something?
yes.
Oh, yeah, Raven.
Ravenswood or Ravenscrest or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did go that far.
Yeah,
We
I remember that.
the agenda or our plan to include that. So we do have it that
Yeah.
far. So yeah, just look at that and then we can look and if there's anything we're missing, then we need to add, we'll take care of that at the next meeting as well. Department reports, David for Park Rec, anything else to add that Rex had?
Yeah, he gave me a few different things.
Okay.
Joel talked a little bit about the Ashwaubenon River Trail, just with that being submitted to the DNR. He said Peters Concrete is working on straightening valves on the Main Street Trail. Working with Northeast on cost to repair a washout on the Industrial Park Trail just south of Contract. It's a pretty big crater in the trail that we went out and looked at the other day.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Kind of a bad spot as you're kind of going over. Little crest there in the trail. Let's see here. Park Board at some point this summer is going to ask for park fund usage to do a wetland delineation for a future trail from Argonne over towards Cabela's. And that's all he gave me.
All right, thank you, and thank you for hanging out. DOT, no rep from DOT. Brian Murphy is not here. I was thinking I had a public safety thing, but I guess I don't. Dirk didn't have anything. I already had Wello with Mario. Anybody have anything else like you want to share?
I'd just be interested enough for you to answer this. How do we budget for refurbing trails? Do we know?
Rex
how do
just
they
gotta
budget?
keep an eye on them and then puts them in the budget to refurbish them, like Industrial Park Trail needs.
That's the only reason I bring it up, because I've been riding that one. That's pretty rough.
It's getting,
You're gonna have to start thinking about
yeah,
this.
and I had mentioned that to him too, so yeah, it's something that.
Yeah, I know there's an annual amount that's always budgeted.
So that's already, okay.
Yeah,
So it's
but
a
then-
piece of the
But then
major.
if you see something that's gonna be a big issue down the line, then you have more funds for next year.
Yeah. Okay, so it's, you got a budget and now you got to divvy. Okay, all right, that answers it. Thanks.
I'll just hand out this, you guys. This is just on the Green Bay project, our RFPs that were approved. This just gives you some general information on it and the safety part of it, just what we talked about when Mario was here. So I just wanted to give you more. Let's see what
There's
else.
one other thing that I know I had some people ask about with the Rocker Stadium. I know it was a big thing with the parking and the crossing the streets and all that a while ago, that someone just asked me about that without here. Has there been thought about adding crosswalks where all these side streets people are coming? Because right now, people are not going to the corner, which I don't think they're going to. Like there's just tons of people crossing all through like this whole, like essentially from right here all the way down to like where that Barb Center for Dance.
Oh, yeah.
In front of the Raptors Stadium, because the part, like people are parking on the roads, to try to get them to at least have like one central spot that they're crossing mid-block, as opposed to like 4 people crossing mid-block.
Yeah.
Has there been any discussion to that before?
We could put it on the agenda to on next month and then ask about it and see.
And we'd have to talk
because-
to public safety too.
Yeah,
That's good.
because
We want that.
definitely there should be more safe crossings that way, because without the parking over there, people are gonna park in these side roads.
And I'll be honest, like, I was even guilty of it when we had the whole Woodside event at it 2 weeks ago. And like when you're running back and forth, like it is really hard, like we're trying to get a bunch of people and you're trying to get people parking from all over. Like you're just like time wise not going to, if you have to run back to your car to grab someone or run down to show someone where they're going to like park by you. And then I was kind of watching it because I was doing the tickets at it, like for our employees.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, this is what they were talking, because I've heard it before and people asked, and I was like, well, you know, the urge to go there, whatever. And then I was like watching it, and I was like, yeah, this really is kind of free for all this. So
This is
I think it would be
meeting to happen.
worth discussing, because honestly, I'm surprised, especially ours was earlier, but when like they're having the later games, like where it is, you know, darker and like, again, there's alcohol involved, my thing is there's a ton of kids.
Yeah.
So like, you know, I have like 11, 12-year-old age kids
Yeah.
running back and forth, where it just might be worth looking at trying to at least condense it to one spot that people then are gonna mid-block cross versus 4.
Yeah, okay. So we'll put that on the agenda for the next meeting and discuss basically pedestrian crossing to the Rocker Stadium.
Yep.
Set, okay. Got that, Susie?
Yep, I do.
Thank you. All right. Anybody, anything else? Otherwise, I have just a couple of quick ones. The other thing that was passed at Village Board recently, that again came out of this committee, we had recommended that when commercial development comes in, they're required, or they have to provide bicycle pedestrian accommodations as well. That passed Village Board as well. So the things you guys have been working on have been gone to Village Board and they've been passed. You've been really making a difference with things that are coming out of this committee. So thanks for all your hard work and all that stuff. It's appreciated. Let's see. The other things, I guess we don't need to worry about right now. June 21st, oh, this is kind of a school thing. The bike rodeo will take place at the community center. It goes from noon to 2. So if you're looking for something to do and you want, I don't know if Officer Dunlop needs any volunteers or not, but it's a fun event and they usually have a bunch of kids. So if you're not doing anything on the 21st and you want to go.
I volunteered for the 1 year one. It's fun.
Yeah, it's set up. I volunteered usually every year. I go and volunteer at that, so that's a fun one. So, okay. Anything else? Any other comments anyone has on?
The Trishaw, this is the first summer
Oh,
of us
yeah.
having it.
That's
For
a
Woodside, and I'm just gonna mention that that's been going over really well. So we have Trishaw Tuesday every week.
Oh.
And if the weather is bad, we've actually been doing it throughout our buildings inside. But that we've been starting to venture out more onto some of the streets and that, getting the drivers or flyers are starting to get a little more brave with some of that, but the residents have really, really liked that, getting some of them out. We've got a lot of positive feedback from families and stuff. So.
Do you have enough drivers yet?
We have quite a few right now, so yeah, it's been going well,
Okay.
Especially with having like the dedicated day, that seems to help. So like we kind of just came up with Trash Out Tuesday and kind of getting like the regular volunteers for it, but yeah, definitely getting a lot of use out of it, so.
That's great.
It's been good.
Well, if you're ever in need of more volunteers, let us know. We
Yes.
can get it out and see if we can get some more. And that sounds like you're pretty well set right
Yeah,
now. So-
right now, as long as we're again talking about expanding to more bikes, once
Yeah.
we get to that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing right now, is we just have the one, so.
Yeah.
Trying to get everyone on the schedule to get on the one bike is starting to be more of the problem, which that's the good
That's a
problem.
good
That's what
thing.
we hoped the
Yeah.
problem would be, so, yeah.
That's great. That's good. Items for next bike and ped meeting. It's scheduled for July 11th. We're going to have a community presentation by Brian Murphy on the community mapping program. So he'll come in and talk about that. I'd like to put a policy on the county roads. We talked about that a couple meetings ago, to talk to the county about shoulders added or bike lanes added on the county roads when they're redoing them, to think about that. So we have, at least a safe space for people walking and biking along the county roads in our community. So I was gonna add that to the agenda. We had a bunch of other ones that we put on already. The Rocker Stadium is on there. Parkview Road we'll bring back. Let's see, there was one for Ridge Road, the east side, looking at sidewalk on the east side of Ridge Road on the next agenda. Anything else, Suzie, that was for next
You
agenda?
just listed the 3 I had.
Okay. All right, anybody else have anything else they'd like to see on the next agenda? Otherwise, we'll have a fairly full agenda next time. With that, if anyone has, nobody has anything else, I would welcome a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion.
Second.
Second, all those in
I
favor?
got two things, two quick
No.
things. No, this is, that's, I thought we were doing the meeting.
Oh, okay.
The meeting's over.